Hey, what's up? Thomas here, ilovetraining.net, and with me is Rob Morgan. So Rob, this is I Love Training.
Okay.
So first thing, why do you love training?
Training just it gives you such a positive outlook on everything you do. Like fills you with energy. I've just done a session now this morning, and the buzz it gives you leaves you feeling so high, you know. So training it helps you physically, but it helps you mentally as well, and that's one of the biggest things for me is the kind of the way it makes me feel after I've trained. Getting yourself through a hard session, pushing yourself through it, and the results that you see from it as well, both physically and mentally, really.
Yeah, cool. And how did you first kind of get into training?
I come from a small town in South Wales, and basically when you hit 16, 17, everybody's training.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, we're quite fortunate, really. There's not much to do.
What kind of training? Lifting or endurance?
Yeah,
or?
It's pretty much bodybuilding. It's a lot of aesthetics.
Yeah.
Once you hit a certain age, a lot of it's to do with just the culture that we live in. It's you know, they're rugby towns, they're valley towns.
I thought everybody was drinking beer.
Yeah, that's part of it as well. That's part of it as well. But yeah, I mean, everybody's training, so it's just something that you come into. And you learn off each other as well, you know. Somebody's always got a brother, or you've got a friend who gets into training before you, and then they bring the younger guys through, and everybody starts training from an early age. I joined the army when I was 16, so fitness is a massive thing there.
Yeah.
And it's the same detail, really. Training is just something that's been with me since I was 15, 16, and it's been a daily part of my life, you know.
Okay, cool. Now obviously you're also a trainer now and a coach and all of that. We'll get into that in a bit more detail later on.
Okay.
But what does your own training look like currently, and how did you kind of like evolve in that from those early days when you has it changed much, or are you still kind of doing the same stuff?
It's changed a lot. Like I said, in the early days, you train with your mates, and when you start training, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody wants a big chest. Everybody wants the big arms.
Yep.
The mirror muscles, if you will. And it's all about how you look and aesthetics. So the early part of my training, maybe the first 4 or 5 years, I would be training regularly every day. But like looking back now, my training would be a lot different, you know.
Yep.
So things like working your mobility, stretching, putting yourself through the full range of motion, and all this kind of stuff wasn't something you thought of back then. It's a lot of ego lifting, if you will. Everybody wants to lift as heavy as possible, and I get that with a lot of my clients now. You know, they come in. They want to lift heavy straight away rather than put their body through the right range of motion and work on their form and their technique.
Yeah.
What I'm doing at the moment, I'm doing some strength training with a couple of guys here, a couple of the trainers. We've just had a new CrossFit coach join us, Luke.
Yep.
And basically he's kind of helping me. We're looking at a lot of my movements, and he's actually helping me. He's actually coaching me.
Yep.
Because I've come from a bodybuilding background.
Yep.
So a lot of the movements that I do are not you know, as technical as they should be. And I find, like, even though I'm coaching clients on a daily basis, and I've got my eye on them and looking out for them to be doing the right kinds of movements, there's not always somebody watching me.
Yep.
And to have somebody here with me to do that at the moment I'm finding it really beneficial, you know. So I'm kind of working on the strength stuff. And also doing a lot of like high intensity training, some metcons, and that kind of stuff, because I mean, really gets the heart rate up and really gets you feeling good after you finish those sessions. But still, I've got you know, a bit of hypertrophy in there as well, because that's my bread and butter, and that's what I love to do. Because at the end of the day, for me, if I kind of step back from the hypertrophy stuff, I don't really feel that good about myself, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And are you training for any sport, any competition or anything like that, or just for fun, for yourself?
Yeah, for me it's always been for myself. I wasn't really that gifted sportsman. I used to play rugby in my earlier days and stuff, but not sport orientated. So just mainly for kind of aesthetic purposes. I'm a PT, I'm a coach. I've got to look good at the end of the day. People are not going to come to a PT who's not in shape. You know, if I don't know how to get in shape myself, then why should other people put their trust and their investment in me to help them get in shape?
Yeah, exactly. It's a good motivator too. Right? You lose your job if you
I guess,
much. But, And are you training? Like how often in a week are you training now?
I train 6 days a week.
Do you split up your different body parts, or do you do full body workouts? Or
at the moment, I'm doing a strength focus. So you know, compound lifts. Always we're hitting front squats, back squats, deadlifts.
Every day, or
no, not so individual. So we break it down. Like today, for instance, I did some back squats for strength, and did a little bit of a metcon afterwards with some movements that were pretty. So you know, you've got your wall balls. And some thrusters and some cleans and stuff that kind of targeted the legs, but still full body. But I'm also maybe 3 days a week as well. I'm also training in the afternoon, doing some kind of, whether it's a strongman circuit or some kind of a HIIT circuit or whatever it may be. Yeah, all right. And your bodybuilding stuff, you just kind of throw it in wherever? Yeah, or? So at the moment, that's not my main focus. My main focus is trying to kind of work on the movement and get stronger in better positions. But I'm still throwing what I call the beach weights in there. You know, the accessory stuff with your delts, your arms, and stuff that may not get hit when you're doing mainly the compound lifts.
And with that, are you more of a volume guy, or more high intensity
volume
to failure, or what kind of?
So yeah, like for instance, now I may do 2 or 3 days a week. I may do some. Say I'll do just throw. A bit of shoulders in there on arms day. I'll probably do some supersets or maybe some giant sets. And really
just
work
for those that don't know what you're talking about. What's a superset?
So a superset is when you choose 2 exercises. So it could be 2 exercises of the same body part, or it could be an antagonist. Agonist.
Opposite muscles.
Yeah, the opposite muscles. So it could be a bicep and a tricep. So I could do a set of 10 on the bis, a set of 10 on the triceps, or I could just choose maybe two sets to do on the biceps, or I may do a giant set. So a giant set is when you maybe put 3 or 4 sets in. And what I like to do there is I like to increase the reps. So maybe I'll start with 8 reps of one exercise, 12 reps of the next exercise, and maybe 20 reps on the third exercise to really go to failure.
Get a good pump and get the blood in there. Yeah. All right. Cool. And how about nutrition? What kind of eating?
Nutrition. Yeah, it plays a massive part in your training, and that wasn't something I really honed in on until later on in my training. So. As far as I was concerned, I was eating pretty well in the earlier days, but a lot of bad information.
What were some of the mistakes that you made early on?
Some of the mistakes, like I would think that I would be eating pretty healthy, but my diet. You know, I had a lot of bread in there, a lot of pasta. Not so much junk food as such. You know, it was pretty healthy. But back then, I wanted to be a lot bigger, so that kind of worked for me then. As I progressed through my training and got more educated and became a PT and the rest of it, I realised how important the nutrition was. And cutting out all those processed carbs, cutting out the bread, cutting out the pasta, you know, things like white potatoes and all that kind of stuff for me doesn't work. So I've stripped that right back. And I've lost so much body fat since then, and I've lost a lot of weight. But in my opinion, I'm looking a lot better. I'm a lot leaner as well.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And here, well, you're training clients. I mean, you do the group sessions here at Unit 27, but also your own personal training clients. What is the kind of person that you really like to work with, or that you work with a lot?
I don't tend to target people really, but my main profile, I'd say, for my client are usually people in their maybe late 20s to early 30s. Late 20s to late 30s. Typically guys who've got to a stage in their lives where they've just realised that they can't do the things anymore that they used to be able to do. Whether it's just from not having the energy to play with the kids, or a lot of people climb upstairs and if they find themselves getting out of breath and all the rest of it, and They've got kind of self-esteem issues as well. A lot of people, so they don't like. They'll go on holiday, for example, get some pictures taken. They'll come back from holiday. They'll look at the pictures and think, "Wow, is that really me?" And then a switch flicks, and they decide that they need some help. And I get that quite a lot with people, and a lot of people they've just got, they've got no idea how to train. They've got no idea how to make these changes.
And how do you set up kind of a program for, because obviously we're in a kind of a luxury position where, well, we work at a gym, so it basically allows you to train a lot, right?
Yeah.
But for somebody that's probably got an office job, was maybe running a business and stuff like that, it's like, what kind of stuff do you make them do, and how do you set it up?
So the first thing I do is I try and break down any of their bad habits, particularly in their nutrition. I can control what people do when they're with me, but I can't control what they're doing on their own. So I mean, it's down to them to break down their old habits with their nutrition. Stop eating all the junk, introduce new habits, start eating healthy food, and get into a routine of exercising regularly. That's the biggest part. It doesn't matter what you're doing, as long as you're getting into a routine of exercising on a regular basis. Getting the heart rate up, getting your body used to doing certain movements, and just basically getting them into a routine. That's the most important thing to start with.
Like guys like that well, probably haven't trained for a while, do you focus mostly on lifting, or do you make them do a lot of cardio, or like what is a training session like? I know you can't. Average doesn't exist.
It completely depends on what their goals are and where they're at. A lot of people will have trained in the past, and kind of fallen off the wagon, so they may have a bit more of an idea of how to train, and with those kind of people it's kind of easier. There's a bit of muscle memory there, and you kind of it's not like having to reteach somebody. Like if you're reteaching or if you're teaching somebody, a 35, 40-year-old guy how to squat, who's never squatted in his life, we've got a lot of work to do there just to get him moving again, and to put his body through that movement pattern in order just to be able to squat. Whereas if you've got a guy who's in his late 20s, he may have played a lot of football, a lot of soccer, or some rugby in his past, and dipped in and out of the training, you probably find that a little bit easier. But weight training, definitely. We've got to look to build muscle. We've got to look to make people stronger. And depending on what their goals are as well, obviously, some HIIT training is a big favourite of mine. Really good way of burning your body fat.
And with HIIT training, you mean intervals?
So right? High intensity interval training.
What kind of with that? Because probably a lot of people watching this, they might be wanting to do something. What kind of work versus rest intervals do you recommend, and how long should they do it? Okay, so maybe a typical session, I'll call it an energy circuit I use for HIIT training. I choose maybe five exercises, full body exercises. Could be anything from a burpee to a wall ball to a kettlebell swing, any of these kind of full body movements that really get the heart rate up. Choose 5. Maybe we'll start off on the first round with maybe 30 seconds work, 20 seconds rest for a round, and then we'll rest, bring the heart rate back down. 4 exercises, so you can go through them in a you'll go through them. So you'll do the kettlebell swings for 30 seconds, you'll rest 20, you'll move on to the burpees, 30 seconds, 20. You'll do that for a round, then you'll rest, bring the heart rate back down however long it takes. It may take a minute. For an unconditioned athlete, it may take 2 or 3 minutes. Bring the heart rate back down, and then we'll go again, but maybe I'll increase the work rate and reduce the rest periods. So this time we may be working for 40 seconds and resting for 15. And as we progress through, then I'll alter the work-rest ratios. A lot of stuff I like to use as well is sprint work. So really good way of getting the heart rate up, and in my opinion, really good way of burning fat but maintaining muscle at the same time. Sprint work, high intensity interval training with the energy circuits and the metcons mixed in with some weight training for sure. All right, cool. Let's get back to yourself. What's the best training cycle that you ever did, where you made the most progress or felt the best or whatever?
So I did a physique competition early last year. My training's always been kind of constant. My nutrition's always been kind of constant. I'm always cautious about what I'm eating, and I'm always trying to train and push myself to where I can be. But I had a show coming up. I gave myself maybe 3 months, and I was just extra strict on everything. I was extra strict on the diet. I totally cut out alcohol. and I really kind of tried to periodise my training so that I was on point for that day.
Yep.
At the same time, I didn't do anything kind of crazy. The whole reason I did the show is I wanted to promote myself and my fitness brand, so keep it simple fitness, and try and show that you don't have to go to any drastic measures. You don't have to do any crazy fitness concepts or go mental and starve yourself with your nutrition, but just do the right things consistently over time with your training, with your nutrition, getting the right rest, getting the right recovery, and you can be in really good shape.
Yeah. So what did that training cycle, like those 3 months, like? If you can kind of break it down, like how did you train? Like, was there a difference from month 1 to 2 to 3, or in a week? Like, how did you?
Yeah. So the first.
What kind of stuff did you do, basically?
The first kind of month, I targeted kind of higher weights but less reps. So I was focusing on my strength, high weights, less reps, more rest. And heavier weights.
What's less reps for you?
So you're probably talking. For strength, 4 to 6, maybe 6 to 8, depending on the exercise. 5 sets of 5 is a really good way to build your strength. And then for the kind of second month period, targeted more kind of hypertrophy. So hypertrophy, we're talking like the 8 to 12 rep ranges, maybe some supersets, some drop sets in there as well. And then on the last month leading into the contest, I really tried to up the volume, up the intensity, and that's when I kind of threw a bit more HIIT training and stuff like that in as well. So maybe then I was doing some HIIT training 3 times a week. But with the weight training, I was focusing a lot more on giant sets, getting that volume in as I described earlier.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And nutrition, did you get like stricter and stricter, closer to the competition? Or?
Not. To be honest, I'm always quite strict. I always eat quite healthy. I've trained for long enough. I'm a PT, so I kind of know what works for my own body, and I know what I need to eat, and I know what foods to try and avoid. But whereas usually maybe I'm 80% strict, leading into the contest I was probably 90-95% strict, and just cutting out that sugar, cutting out the alcohol for sure. And just being, really extra cautious. Didn't do any carb loading or any carb cycling or anything like that. I just tried to keep it a constant. Right up until the show, I was still eating the same amount of carbs, fats, proteins. I kept the same kind of split. Didn't do any kind
of. Like how many carbs, like percent? Did you like check the percentages and the macros, or did you weigh everything, or just kind of go by feel?
Basically. So I kind of worked out that I needed to be on about 2,800 calories just for where I wanted to be with the kind of weight that I wanted to maintain, and with the split that I had, I eat the same thing every day, and I can do that. It doesn't bother me. I know that the food I'm eating is fueling me for my training, and it's keeping me healthy. I'm getting the right kinds of nutrients, vitamins, and minerals that my body needs. You get a lot of people that complain, you're eating the same stuff, it's boring, how can you do that? To me that's not boring, I'm eating the right kind of food to fuel myself, So I kind of kept my diet the same all the way through.
Yeah, alright, cool. And we were talking about it earlier, like your keep it simple fitness philosophy. So if you want to explain a bit, like what's your philosophy?
So keep it simple fitness. When I became a PT, that was my kind of my ethos. All the training I've done, I used to be in the army. I spent long periods of time out there in Afghanistan and Iraq, these sorts of places. Didn't always have a great deal of equipment available, didn't always have a great deal of time available. Sometimes there's a lot of time available, don't get me wrong. But it kind of just became, I just became aware that you don't need any kind of, don't need a massive amount of equipment, don't need any, crazy fitness concepts or anything like that. In my opinion, these days, the fitness industry is full of companies and people, just trying to make money out of fitness, and kind of, people want to get fit, and people are trying to exploit that by trying to make money, by trying to offer them a crazy 4-week program where you can get into the shape of your life, or whatever gadget, gimmick, diet pill, whatever they're trying to sell. In my opinion, like I said, train, eat the right food, get the right amount of rest and recovery. It's as simple as that. So keep it simple, kind of developed out of that, and that's what I try and drill into all my clients as well. There's There's no need to confuse things or to complicate things. Just keep it simple, and eventually, over time, if you keep things consistent, you'll get to where you want to be.
Yeah, all right, awesome. Yeah, I think that's a good way to wrap it up. So where can people find out more about you, your methods and all of that?
Okay, so I've got a website. Keep it simple, is www.KIS-fitness.com.
Okay.
Just got a little bit more about me, what I offer. Offer online coaching. That's the main kind of focus of that website, so people can get in touch with me, find out about my packages and, and how we can kind of help them. I've also got my Facebook page, KIS Fitness by Rob Morgan.
Okay.
Try and post, kind of some motivational stuff, some information, and people on nutrition and training, and just give people some information basically on how they can progress with their training and with their nutrition.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So if somebody comes to Thailand here, Unit 27, right?
Yeah, I'm at Unit 27. For those who don't know, Unit 27, total conditioning in Phuket, Thailand. World-renowned fitness facility. Got a great area here, great equipment, great facilities. I offer one-to-one personal coaching here. We've also got another gym in Shillong, which is Primal Fitness. So I can do a lot of my one-to-one coaching there as well. I also teach the group training classes here, the rapid fire strength and conditioning classes, some CrossFit and a basic lifting class as well.
Okay, awesome. All right, thank you.
Cheers, Thomas.
And yeah, see you guys later.
Thanks a lot.
ilovetraining.net and KIS-fitness.com. Right, later.